Okay, so with this video, we are going to create a frequency table, which I typically would do by hand, but you can also do it on the graphing calculator. So I'll show you that with this video. And we're going to create the histogram as well. So we have this data set, which represents, so we have a nurse that checks the blood sugar levels of all 40 of her patients. The results range from 43 to 388 milligrams per deciliter. So we have all those 40 blood sugar levels of 40 patients. Use a calculator to construct a 9-class frequency table. So that's important to determine what, how many classes they want. If you're asked to do this with a graphing calculator on Newton might be particular with how many classes. So that means it's going to be expecting certain values. Then draw a histogram for the given data. So first things first, I need to input this into my calculator. So let's do that. We know to go to stat and we know to go to edit. And I happen to already have put all these in. And you can notice they're from least to greatest. So I want to show you how to do that as well. Pause the video if you need to so that you can input these values in because I already have them in there. So if you want to put them in order from least to greatest, you go back to stat and you go to sort A, sort ascending. And then you tell it list 1, second 1 to pull list 1. Enter. It's going to tell me done. So it sorted it for me. So once you do that, now when you go back into stat and edit, your list could be or should be from least to greatest. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is find the class width. So this is part of organizing my histogram so that I make this frequency table to what they want, 9 classes. So you want to determine your min and max. So you can go back to your list and my min is 43. Scroll up and then down again. My max is 388. So to find my class width, I'm going to take the max, 388, minus the min, which is 43, and then divide by the number of classes that I want, which they tell me is 9. Round that up to the next whole number. Always round up. So 39 is my class width. Then it's very important to also find your in your window, you're going to have a specific setting in your window on your calculator. So you need to determine the minimum value that you are going to input. And I'll show you this when we get there, the maximum value that you're going to input and how you're counting. So we know the minimum value is 43. That's the minimum of all the values, of all the numbers. We know that our class width is 39. So I need to find the maximum value that's going to go in my window on my table set. So I'm going to show you why that's important when we get to the actual histogram. So the way that you find that X max is called X max, X min and X max. So let me write that here for you. So I have my class width, which we have, I can put it up here. So my class width is always max, which in my case was 388, minus my minimum, which is 43, divided by the number of classes, which they told me they want 9, right? That's what they told me. So this is why this is important. We determined that my class width was and is 39. Okay, so once you do this calculation, always round up. 39 is my class width. Now, it's important to determine, I'm going to write that down here, my X min. This is going to match your minimum value, which is 43. My X max, I'll show you where this comes into play. And your X max, I'll do it on the calculator, but is always the minimum plus the amount of classes that you want times your class width. Okay? Always your minimum plus your number of classes that you're asked for times your class width. This is called your X max. That's going to be in our window when we get there on the calculator. Let's find that. So we're going to take 43 and we're going to add to that our number of classes times our class width. So 394 is going to be my X max. Now that I have that, I'm going to set up my histogram. Okay, so you see I have stat plot here. I go second and y equals second and then y equals. Stat plot is there. And when you pull it up, you're going to see this. Plot on, we want number 1, okay? When I click on that, you're going to see that mine is on. If yours is not, you have to turn it on. And we have the type of graph that we want is our histogram. So when you scroll over that, highlight it. My X list is in L1. So second one, if I need to put that in, your frequency needs to be 1. Now, when I go to graph, you'll see my histogram may or may not look like yours. Zoom and Zoom stat is going to get you your nice basic statistical graph. Now, this does not have the amount of classes that I want. So we have to change that, right? So we're going to go to our window now. This is where this is going to come into play. I need 9 classes and my graph did not have that. So you see how in window you have X min, X max, and XSCL. X min is the minimum X value along your X axis, the horizontal axis. X max is the maximum value that you want your calculator to show along your X axis. And XSCL is how you're counting each tick along your X axis. So what you're inputting here for your X min is always the minimum value in your data set. Your X max we find by doing your min plus the number of classes that you have times your class width. And the XSCL is the class width. So if you need to rewind that and write that in your notes, do that, because this is how you're doing a particular type of frequency table from the graphing calculator in particular, based on the amount of classes that you're asked for. So I'm going to input that here. So my X min is 43. My X max has to be this 394 that I calculated. So X max is 394. And then my XSCL is my class width, which I remember being 39, but I'll double check. Once I input that, now check this out. I go to graph. Check out my graph. My graph is beautiful. I have exactly what I need. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes, because remember, a histogram basically shows you the amount of classes, and it's going to tell me the frequency of each class, and it's going to help me determine my classes. So now I can actually fill in my frequency table using the graphing calculator. This is probably easier by hand, but you're asked to do it with the graphing calculator, so you might like it better. I don't know. You try it. So now to find the actual information, trace is what we're going to use. And when I click on trace, as you can see, when I click on trace, it's going to the first class. You see the height, N is 6. This is telling me that the height of this bar goes up to 6, which means the frequency of the first class is 6. So actually, if I really want to, I could go ahead and write 6 here. But I also want the class. So how do I determine that? The minimum of the first bar is 43. Let's write that. 43. Remember, this is a grouped frequency table. So what do I put as the maximum? See how it says the maximum is less than 82? I'm going to go my class to 81. One less than the max here, and I'll show you why in a second. So my first class is done. Let's scroll over to the next class. So I'm just reminding you again that the minimum of my class, or my lower class limit of my first class, is the minimum that this tells me. The upper class limit of my first class is 1 less than what this says. His max is less than 82. Not less than or equal to, less than 82. So 1 less than that. And my frequency is this N. So let's keep going and creating our frequency table. So in order to get to the next one, I press the right arrow, and I'm going to write that. The min is 82. Oops. Let's write that down. My min is 82. So this is going from 82 to 1 less than the max here, so 120. And my frequency is 7. And I want you to double check something because this should be standard for frequency tables. Remember that the difference between the lower class limits should match your class width. So 82 minus 43 is 39. That's not a coincidence. That should happen. Same thing between these two, the upper class limits. And then if I count the total amount of numbers within the class, counting the ends, it should also be 39. Not 81 minus 43. Remember, we're counting the ends here. So there's 39 values within this, but if I do 82 minus 43, that should be 39. So the difference between the lower class limit should be your class width, and the difference between the upper class limit should be your class width. So let's finish this frequency table. We have 2 classes. We're on the second class here. My first class, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 here. My first class, 43 to 81. My second was 82 to 120. Let's keep it going. My next one, you can see 121 to 159. Let's write that down. 121 to 159, right? 1 less than the max. And my class, my frequency is 3. Okay, let's look at the next one. My next one will be 160 to 1 less than that max, so 198 with my frequency of 3. Let's see what my next one is. Let's write that. My next one is, hold on. My next one is from 199 to 237, right? It starts at the min and 1 less than the max, and my frequency is again 3. Let's look at the next one. Should start at 238. That makes sense. See, 238. So the next one's starting at 238, going to 276. And my class frequency for that class is 6. Let's keep going. My next one is 277 to 315, 277 to 315, and my frequency is 1, right? So I'm going to check in, see how this one is starting 1 more than this one. Everything is looking good right now. We have 2 more to go. Next one is 316. Let's write that down. 316 to 354. And my frequency there is 5. Last class would be, should start at 355. So let's write that down. From 355, 355 to, what does that say? 393. And my classes, my frequency is 6. So same thing. You guys can see that, once again, I created how many, let's double check how many classes I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes. And if you want, and you should, add up the frequencies. It should add up to 40 because there's 40 data values. And then I would double check just, a few of them, just make sure that, the difference between each of the lower class limits matches 39. Difference between each of the upper class limits matches 39, and you're good. So this is the particular way to do this based on the fact that they are asking you, right? They're asking you to construct a particular frequency with 9 classes, okay, using your graphing calculator. This is the process. Go through your histogram, okay? Zoom stat. You have to find your window, your special window, your X min in the windows, the minimum value, your X max, minimum value plus number of classes times class width, and you're always counting by your class width for your XSDL. So good luck. Give it a try. You're going to have to probably pause and rewind this video a few times to get it down. Write your steps. This is probably easier by hand, but it is possible on the calculator too. And then you guys will find what you like best.